Judges chapter 15. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid, and he said, I will go in to my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that thou hadst utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And Samson said concerning them, Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burned up both the shocks and also the standing corn, with the vineyards and olives. Then the Philistines said, Who hath done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burned her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them, Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease. And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt on the top of the rock Etam. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, Why are ye come up against us? And they answered, To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said to Samson, Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, As they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, Swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he came into Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burned with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, With the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramath Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant. Now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised? But God clave a hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En-Hakkore, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. Here we see Samson finally deciding about harvest time that maybe he'd better go down and pick up this wife that he married. The Philistines go down to Timnah and do that. And so he takes a kid. Now, a kid is a baby goat. And that's about the smallest kind of gift you could take that would be recognized as a gift, other than the possibility of having a small bird, which would have been an insult under the circumstances. So he takes this baby goat down, which is either going to be given to the wife or the father, and he wants to go in and resume cohabiting with his wife, and the father says, no, can't do that. I gave her to your friend, your best man, basically, who was at the marriage feast. And so she's married to somebody else now. But, the father says, I have got a younger daughter who's even prettier than the one you married. You know, you can have her as a wife. And so what does Samson do? Now, regardless of what you think about the morals of the Philistine father or the Philistines, whatever, The point is that within the confines of his culture, the father was trying to make things right. Don't have to agree that it would have been the best thing or whatever, but he was offering Samson a solution. You want a wife? I've got a second daughter. The first one, because you took off, because you left her behind, because you looked like you hated her, because you didn't want to be married to her, I let her marry somebody else. She's married to somebody else now. So what does Samson do? He goes and he captures a bunch of foxes. A firebrand is basically a piece of wood that has pitch in it, tree sap that will catch on fire easily and will burn with a bright hot flame. It's harvest time, which means the grain is all dry. It's stacked in the field. He ties a couple of foxes together by their tails and ties these firebrands in between them, and the foxes run crazy trying to get away from the fire, which they drag behind them and set all the fields on fire. And the Philistines want to know who did this. They would have wanted to know. This would have caused huge destruction, and chances are people could have starved to death because of this. This was no minor prank. And so they go up to Judah, and they camp there, and they basically give the people of Judah the understanding that they are come to get Samson, and if the people of Judah don't turn him over, there's going to be a big war. And so the men of Judah go and they bind him. And they take him down. He says, just as long as you guys don't kill me, I'm okay. And then they go down and meet the Philistines. And then it says, the Spirit of God mightily came upon him. No, the Spirit of God did not mightily come upon him. He used his God-given strength, which he had all the time, to break the cords. Then he got the jawbone of an ass, which basically would have been like a scythe, sickle, small hand axe, a very decent tool, and one that you could kill a lot of people with if it's strong enough. And he killed, according to the story, 1,000 men with it. And then he decided that he was thirsty now. So he wanted God to give him some water. And there is a spring there which, according to the story, miraculously appeared, not out of the jawbone, but out of the place where the jawbone was found. And that the spring is still there at the place called Lehi to the day that the story was being written, because it was written long after the events happened. We have somebody writing this story down long after it happened. And so we see there's a guy going to kill 1,000 people. This is hardly a righteous individual. It says he judged Israel for 20 years, but the men of Judah made a point. Knowest thou not that these people are rulers over us? The Philistines are rulers over us. In other words, the Philistines, who live along the coast, are the rulers over the tribe, at least the tribe of Judah and Dan, who live in the area. And by his ignorance, his arrogance, and his willingness to do stuff to the Philistines to get them mad, Samson was causing great fear and destruction to potentially come upon the children of Israel. They wanted him to know that they were scared, and that's why they came to get him, to hand him over to him. And we'll see that he did not learn any lessons from this.